What's going on, boys and girls? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to the Labyrinth of Grisaia. So in the last episode, Yuuji got enrolled in a terrorist school, I guess you could say. He's going to be taught how to be a terrorist. That's basically it. Kirihara, or Hithaslo, whatever you want to call him, is the one who did it. He noticed that he has the potential to kill. So he's going to use that for his personal purposes. And now Yuuji is training to be one hell of a terrorist, so that's where we're at. We'll jump back into it. The reason why I know exactly where we're at... The reason why I know exactly where we're at is because I just recorded this. I need to record another episode so I can render out these two and upload them at the same time. It's how my system works, because I'm a little behind. I'm sorry, so we'll jump into this. This episode actually might be just a tiny bit shorter, maybe 20-25 minutes. We'll see. That's only if I get a little bit tired here, or if I start running out of time. I think I'll be alright, so let's jump into this. According to the data gathered by the technicians at Oslo's research facility, I produced above-average results in a remarkably brief period of time. The researchers seemed to believe it was an effect of the experimental drugs they had administered. But Oslo himself was convinced my natural talent had simply come to the surface. Either way, they decided I was ready for my final test, the so-called graduation exam. On that day, I was presented with my final lesson in hand-to-hand combat. The test was extremely simple. I'd pass as long as I brought about the death of my opponent. Dear God. There weren't any other rules. And in an ugly twist of fate, that opponent was Marin, or Mari. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. I didn't give you guys the opportunity to correct me, so I apologize for that, but I'm just going to go with Marin because I'm an idiot. No, fate probably wasn't involved. In retrospect, I imagine they deliberately paired us off with our most intimate friend in the facility as a way of forcing us to gain the resolve to sacrifice everything for our objective. In this place, when you had a bad feeling about something, it was usually realized. That was how it was designed. Why is everything blurry? It was true enough. No use trying to lie to myself. I was a killer. In the first place, it wasn't exactly uncommon for students to die over the course of their training. Not to mention the casualties from spontaneous fights and punishments inflicted by groups of fellow students. Just the previous week, there'd been a guy who was bullied so badly over his poor results that he hung himself in the practice room. Well, fuck. And then there was the new kid who made a habit of wandering the halls at night moaning loudly. Guess he got the attention of our veterans. Someone found him in the bathroom one morning with his face still submerged in a toilet. That is terrible. In this place, the wall separating life from death was thin and fragile. But even so, killing someone we'd lived with for months in cold blood was a different story. Even if we didn't have anything in the way of team spirit, murdering a person you've gotten to know is even more difficult than you might imagine. Therefore, our instructors gave all the graduation candidates a stimulant, telling us it was a drug that would sharpen our kinetic vision and boost our reflexes. The results varied widely. Some people became so agitated they could barely sit still, snapping into pointless rages over things that normally wouldn't bother them, snarling curses and death threats at the slightest provocation. But others, overloaded with sensory excitement, actually seemed unnaturally calm. I suppose I was in the latter group, and Marin, my opponent, was definitely in the former. In any case, they said I needed to kill her if I wanted to graduate, so that was what I have to do. Focusing as best as I could through the drug-induced haze, I faced off against my classmate. As the two of us faced off, I couldn't find anything to say to the person I was about to fight to the death. Maybe it was the same for Marin, or maybe she no longer even cared. Most likely, it was the latter. Even if the girl standing in front of me was technically Marin, something else was controlling her mind now. Her eyes, darting restlessly back and forth, probably weren't seeing anything more than an enemy in front of her. Marin breathed, in rough, quick gasps, as if to expel the heat gathering inside her body. It was obvious at a glance how agitated she was. There was no referee for this match. No instructor to shout begin or that's enough. It wouldn't end until one of us was dead. Oh shit. Spitting out her red-hot anger in a scream, Marin suddenly threw herself forward. She surged toward me, her limbs outstretched to the limit, cutting through the air. She put her weight on her left leg, twisting the upper half of her body to balance herself. She swung her right leg with all her strength viciously, not even considering the possibility of a counterattack. I could see all of it, every movement flowing into the next, as if I was watching a slow-motion film. Marin's knees shot out, and in the next moment her leg curved upward, toes stretching toward my face. Not an easy kick to defend, given that quick transition from a straightforward jab to an arching trajectory. But I'd seen it many times in training. Her precise execution actually made it easier to anticipate. I raised my guard, shielding my face, chin, and neck. Marin's right leg instantly smacked against my crossed arms. Marin's kick was heavier than I'd expected. Her pivot leg turned sharply in the opposite direction with the force of delivering it. My arms screamed from the impact. In the same instant, she twisted her leg violently to slip around my defense, striking the back of my head with her toes. For a moment, my vision went blurry. Probably another effect of the drugs. Marin showed absolutely no hesitation, even delivering a kick that could easily have left her leg broken and useless. But it wasn't anything worth worrying about. In physical strength, reaction speed, tactical judgment alike, I was significantly superior to Marin. I just had to take her first attack, then land an accurate counter. That was all. Sorry about this, Marin. The kick had left her perched on one awkwardly planted leg, an apology to the young woman who'd been kind to me echoing through my mind. I twisted my body and drove my right knee at her before she could regain her balance. Oh shit. My kneecap slammed into Marin's face. Fuck. Something gave way. I must have shattered her nasal bones. Stimulated by the impact, I felt a wave of energy surge through every muscle of my body. Marin's body swayed and wobbled like a spinning top, running out of momentum. If she collapsed now, it would be easy enough to finish this. She couldn't be thinking too clearly after taking that sort of hit to the head. There wasn't much of a risk of luring me in and going for a grappling move. And yet... Jesus Christ. Marin didn't fall. With a fierce scream, she forcibly tied her fading consciousness to reality through sheer force of will. Damn it! Her arm lashed out reflexively, lightly grazing my right temple. It was such a wild lunge that it was hard to imagine how she expected to hit me. Maybe she was moving on pure instinct by now? Just like before, there was no sign she was even considering defense. I spun easily around to her unguarded right flank and landed another knee strike. Damn. The blow landed so deeply I could feel Marin's kidney twitch and curl up inside her. Fuck. Her I can never pronounce this correctly. Only once in a while I can. Never mind. Muscles contracted sharply. It was obvious she hadn't been remotely prepared to take that hit. A kick like that hurts so badly it feels like someone's jabbed a knife into your internal organs. I'd experienced it myself more than once. The instant that pain registers, the world goes pure white. You instinctively grab your side and fall to your knees. If your kidneys swell up from the blow, you'll quickly develop a severe I don't even know what that is. Glycogen, whatever, deficiency. As the nerves in your internal organs are paralyzed, even breathing becomes difficult. Your face goes deadly pale from... I don't even know. And in reality, Marin was already gasping for breath. Her mouth open wide. It didn't help that her nasal cavity was completely blocked with blood. Instinctively stooped over to protect her stomach, chin thrust out defensively as she gulped down oxygen. The girl almost seemed to be asking for a finishing blow. I'll put you out of your misery. With that thought running through my mind, I landed a right hook to Marin's chin. Her head rocked on the axis of her neck like a dummy. The massive brain cells floating inside her skull jolted widely back and forth. Marin's eyes instantly spun backward in their sockets. She had to be unconscious, but she still didn't fall. What the hell? Relentlessly, I drove a second punch into her chin, then a third. But even so, Marin wouldn't go down. Fuck, dude. Her mouth hung open limply. The punches might have dislocated her jaw. Spittle flowed down her chin. Her eyes, completely unfocused, spun aimlessly around, but Marin didn't fall. God damn it! Somehow, she must have been clinging onto one last scrap of willpower. Knowing that she'd die if her knees touched the ground, no matter how she reeled and swayed, Marin stayed on her feet. If hitting won't do it, then I'll just throw her off her balance. That inhuman toughness was starting to frighten me. Resisting the urge to scream, I reached up and shoved heavily against Marin's shoulders, trying to push her to the ground. In that moment, I found myself looking straight into her face. Her battered, swollen, ghastly face, dark with bruises, red with blood. Ugh. That face woke up something that had been lying latent inside me, and suddenly my body wasn't moving like I wanted it to. Oh shit. That face. I'd seen that face before. Ugh. 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 It was the face of my mother hanging from the ceiling. Someone had stabbed a rod of ice into the center of my heart. I trembled uncontrollably at the sudden cold inside me. What am I doing? Hitting a woman until she looks like this? How am I any different from him? Alright, voices. Ugh. And as the spectators screamed for me to kill, I flashed vividly back to the moment when I'd struck my father dead. I couldn't move. My knees shook like branches in the wind. I almost said my eyes shook. I wanted to fall to the ground and curl up in a ball. Finally, crouching where I stood, I abandoned the fight entirely. It was no good. I was no good. I couldn't kill her. It was kill or be killed, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. What a terrible laugh. Ugh. She sounds like a witch, man. As Marin's frenzied laughter rang out, the situation reversed completely. Alright, I don't know why there's two reversts there. My deranged, drugged classmate kicked and punched me countless times, drunk on one-sided violence, and I lay there enduring the pain. So overwhelming, I thought my skin would burst from its intensity. This is my punishment. This is what I deserve for hurting a woman. I was used to pain. All I had to do was endure it, and it would end eventually. In the end, I couldn't do anything else. Story of my life. Resigned to my fate, passively accepting the rain of blows, I heard a familiar voice shouting out from somewhere far away.
Yuuji? どうせ父親を殺した親殺しだろ? 今さら何人殺そうが同じことだ。立て戦え!
Oslo was shrieking from the crowd, ordering me to stand. But not even he could move me now.
なんてこった。まったくユージ、君ってやつは。
Watching Marin beat me to the verge of death, Oslo pinched the corners of his eyes in obvious disappointment. Beaten senseless by my classmate, who'd completely lost any restraint in the haze of her drug-induced madness, I somehow managed to survive. But with even breathing a struggle, alright, much less standing on my own two legs, I was unceremoniously tossed into the school's underground medical facility. That name might give you the wrong impression. The place was basically a dungeon where they left the severely wounded to rot. Could just as well called it a storage room for future corpses. Lying flat on the floor, I felt the cold concrete quickly absorbing the heat from my inflamed skin. It felt wonderful. Even so, it occurred to me that if I let myself fall asleep like this, I'd almost certainly never wake up again. Doesn't sound so bad. If I died down here, Marin would get to graduate. It seemed a little pathetic to be searching for meaning in my defeat, but at the very least, Marin would get out of this insane place. I had to focus on that fact, or my own existence would become so completely pointless I might just go crazy. I didn't receive any real treatment down there. I was just lying on the ground like a discarded rag when Marin came to visit me. Having regained her sanity when the effect of the drugs faded, a few hours must have passed by that point. Waking up to the sensation of a damp, hot towel scrubbing my face, I was surprised to find that my right eye wouldn't open. In fact, I couldn't even lift my face from the ground. My blood had congealed around me, literally gluing my skin and hair to the concrete. Mumbling words of apology, Marin carefully wiped my face with a towel, cleaning off the hardened blood. Sleeping on the bare floor must have severely lowered my body temperature. The hot fabric felt incredibly good. As she tended to my injuries, Marin sniffled quietly and spoke again. Who knows? It was the last thing I wanted to hear. Those were the same words my mother had left behind in her suicide note. Words of surrender, offering nothing but despair and weakness. But it's not like I had an answer to them. So I responded only with silence. I don't know how Marin interpreted my attitude. Whatever the case, she returned to that basement room the next day and the next, quietly treating my injuries as if it was her duty. I don't really understand this person. Like, in the anime, I feel like they built her up as a character to... That would actually show conflict in that fight right there. But I feel like they kind of went into the fight in this visual novel here like, oh, we know the character, it's been pointed out, but that's pretty much it, and now it's going to be a big deal to fight her. Apparently it wasn't, but now they're making her out to be a significant character here. I don't know. I vaguely remember the anime doing something a little different here, but I could be wrong. My memory is really shit. I'm not hungry. Huh, watch me. I don't want any medicine either. It's ridiculously bitter. With that, Marin swallowed a mouthful of the liquid medicine she brought for me. Case in point. I told you so, stupid. Or baka, if you really want to be completely immersed here. I'll feed myself. How many days had passed since Marin's first visit to the basement? It might have been the first time I talked so much with another person since I arrived at that school. The place was full of people with bitter and traumatic pasts, just like me. So the unspoken rule was to keep your distance. Our private lives and personal stories were off limits. Of course, Marin had absolutely no memories of the past to begin with. That actually made it easier to get by here. It was completely normal to her, and she didn't seem to be bothered by it. After examining my injuries in silence for a few minutes, Marin suddenly asked me a question. Huh, I wonder that myself. I didn't understand. Why ask about my circumstances now, after all this time? The question felt so strange that I couldn't find anything to say. What would it change if I told you, Marin? Why does it matter to you? You don't even know the first thing about yourself. Maybe you forgot about the past because it was too painful to remember? Sounds pretty good to me. I'll go with that too. I don't even want to remember. It was as if anything good would come out of remembering. Talking wasn't going to undo what was already done. My life was never going to change unless I changed it myself.
この学校を卒業することになったの。
Well, she did win the fight. Really? Good for you.
でも本当に良かったのかな。
What, you'd rather stay here? Leaving this place would mean working as a pawn of Oslo. But no matter what was waiting for us, I figured it had to be better than aimlessly circling around the sewer of a place for the rest of our lives. Don't worry about me. Once you get out of this place, try to just forget me. And everything else that happened here. Whatever they made you do, that should make it a lot easier.
私戦うのは苦手。人を傷つけないで生きていければそれが一番いいのにね。
So does everyone else. When you hurt people, you might get hurt. When you kill people, you might get killed. Nobody wants to live in a world where the only options are to take a life or to lose your own. But if you want to survive, you can't avert your eyes. The people who run away from reality die first. The way I'd broken down after seeing my mother and Marin's bloody face was a good case in point.
また来るから。
With those words, Marin left the basement. But she didn't visit me the next day. She didn't come the day after that either. Or even the day after that. At that point, I finally understood. Marin had graduated and left this place behind. Those words hadn't been a casual goodbye. Their real meaning was, if I survive, I'll come see you again. I think it was about 2 weeks or so after Marin left. With my wounds mostly healed, I was officially upgraded from critical to stable condition. That meant I was authorized to leave the basement and admit myself to the medical wing. It was there that I heard the news.
あの子ならね、もう死んじゃったよ。
Oh shit.
それなりにいい成績だったから期待はしていたんだけどね。初めての仕事でつまらない失敗をしちゃったんだって。残念なことだよね。
What did she do? What happened?
っていうかさ、卒業してすぐに死なれちゃうと、うちの教育に問題があったんじゃないかって、いろいろと上から言われてすごく面倒なんだよね。あんたもさ、ここを出て行った後は、しばらくは死なないことだけに気をつけてよ。マジで迷惑だからさ。
Alright, bitch ass nurse. Marin was dead. It's not like this sort of thing hadn't happened before. New people were always coming in, only to disappear without warning. She was just one of many. But even so, maybe if I'd beaten Marin down in that final test and graduated in her place, she wouldn't have to have died like this. I couldn't help being a little bothered by that. It's because you were so nice to me. Maybe that was the real reason Marin was gone. Every woman who treated me kindly ended up dead. I couldn't let myself rely on anyone ever again. The more I thought about it, the more I convinced myself of that. By the time I received permission to discharge myself, there was a completely different group of trainees in the lodging facilities. I'd been recuperating for so long that the other survivors from my class had finished their term and graduated. There wasn't a single familiar face left. Normally, I should have jumped right back into training to make up for the month I'd spent recuperating, but the instructors had already started over with the next generation of students, and it's not like they were going to take the time to offer me personalized lessons. So while the others drilled, I was simply assigned self-study under the name of personal training. To be honest though, it wasn't much of a training regimen. They basically just ignored me and let me do whatever I wanted. I kept a regular running schedule in order to regain my endurance, sometimes getting in a little live firing practice to maintain my eyesight, but otherwise didn't do much of anything. Even when I was just walking around aimlessly, the instructors turned a blind eye. Nobody ever bothered chewing me out anymore. In fact, sometimes they'd even nod vaguely in my direction and say, "Keep at it." Not only did the instructors seem to know me, they treated me with respect and didn't ask me to participate in the training. I spent most of my time wandering the halls for no apparent reason. So understandably enough, the new guys mostly kept their distance, shooting me worried looks that read, "Who the hell is that guy supposed to be?" Finally, 2 months after my first attempt, I was given another chance at graduation. For my second exam, I was tasked with carrying out an actual assassination in the field. For all intents and purposes, it was a preemptive graduation and immediate deployment. The target was one of 3 judges who would be presiding over an international trial involving Heath Oslo's suspected crimes in various foreign countries. To put it simply, I was there to cover Oslo's ass by killing a man who couldn't be swayed by money. Alright, so we'll end it there because I feel like we're going into something crazy. Apparently we're arriving in Canada, and that's something totally different. So we'll end it there. Still on the Kakuna Caprice 3. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a little shorter, just a few minutes. Hopefully you guys could be okay with that. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate the support in these episodes, this playthrough so far. Even so, this is only episode 8. It feels like it's like episode 16 if I were doing 15-minute episodes, but whatever. Truly appreciated. Again, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time here with the Labyrinth of Grisaia. Take it easy, guys.